I'm glad to see you again in this video. In case you are new to my channel, please you can feel free to subscribe, turn on that notifications icon so that you don't miss any of the videos that I'll be uploading. So now in this video we are going to be looking about SQL injection. This one is going to be my first video about my web security series, whereby we are going to be testing a couple of vulnerabilities in web pen test. The lab that we are going to be using, you can find it on Postswinger Academy, whereby if you do not have an account with them, you can go on and create an account and play along with me. So SQL injection, this can be defined as a vulnerability where an attacker can intercept the requests or queries that are being made by the application to the database. Here we have a good definition about that. You can read through this so that you can understand what this means. So SQL, this is a structured query language where it is being used by most applications to submit our information from our front end of a website to the back end, that is the database. Now in this kind of attack, hackers tend to use a couple of characters so that they can intercept that information that is being submitted to that application. Now for the labs that we are going to be using, just go on, create an account, just come here to Academy. But don't worry, I will be leaving the direct link to the labs in the description. And I'll also try to leave some chapters that you can also try to follow in case you want to skip over. Now this is a direct link to all labs to our Postswinger Academy. I will be leaving this directly to the description so that you can just tap on it and you reach right away. So we have our SQL injection and lab 1, which is going to be our case study of today. When you tap on that, we are going to be having this tab right here, whereby they are telling us that this lab contains SQL injection vulnerability in the product category filter. When the user selects a category, the application carries out the SQL query like the following. So we do have select all from our products where category equals gifts and release equals 1. Now they go on and tell us that to solve this lab, perform a SQL injection attack that causes the application to display one or more unreleased products. So when you try to see how we do have released equals 1, whereby we could expect that either the unreleased may be 0 or a 2. So if we have a SQL command like this that is being passed through our application, you need to go on and understand this. In case you don't know your SQL, this may be a little bit harder for you, but in case you know your SQL, this is just simpler. So I'm going to go on and open up my terminal. Perhaps let's go on and open up our VS Code so that we can understand this very well. So let me just open up code in this location I'm in. Then we can go through this very well. So when I open that, we are going to paste there our SQL command, and then later we access the lab. So let me first come back here to access our lab. You are going to just click on this, a new page is going to be opened up. So let me click on access lab. We see that a new page has been opened up, and this is the site that we do have, whereby we do have a couple of products. According to our application, they say that select all from products where category equals gifts. That's where we do have our SQL injection. So if I tap on this, make sure I just come and tap on gifts. So if we tap on gifts here, let's see the information that will be returned back. So we see only 3 products that were returned back. I think these are the released one. So when you try to see up here, we also do have our URL. But you can also go on and try to tap on a couple of stars. When you try to see here, we need to go on and solve this lab. So if we go on and come back here to our VS Code, I'm going to go on and open up another file where we can, let's just call this one SQL injection, so that we can analyze our code very well. So if we open up that file, we are going to paste there our link and we try to inject. Now before you go on and test a lot of stuffs in your application, firstly you need to check whether the path is or has a vulnerability, or it is vulnerable to SQL injection. So if we paste there our link, this is how our application works. So we are going to go on and test with a single quote character to see how the application will work. So if I go on and just put it out that just need a single quote in a system, when I just write this, they'll go on and bring this. So we have this, which is being suggested by our VS Code, but we are going to come back to that later. Now, when we try to see the path of our application up here, we do have a question mark category equals corporate plus gifts. Whereby our category, this is a variable if we are playing around with our PHP or any language that you are using in your backend. So to test whether our application is vulnerable to SQL injection, at the end of our product, I can just go on and add a single quote and press enter. Let's see how the application will appear in case it is vulnerable. Now, when we try to see here, we have an internal server error. What happened in our application? Simply we've broke our application. Let me just go on and copy this and paste it down here. So what it means, instead of the gifts here, we at the end I just added a single quote whereby it will be just like this, which is making these ones not to go on and execute successfully in our application. That is why it is returning a server error. Now, we are not directly sure whether this application now it is vulnerable to SQL injection. What we can go on and try, perhaps we can remove the product that we are trying to call out from our table, and we provide it with just a single quote. So what I'm going to do is, firstly, let me go on and remove this, and instead of the gifts, let me just go on and try just a single quote. So it will be like this. Fully, it is going to just be single quote whereby we shall have a space, but instead of a space, we can replace that with our single quote, and we see how the application made appear. Now we can go on and also include on comments in our SQL, whereby comments we can use a dash or you can use a hashtag depending on the database you are using. So if we come back this side, I'm going to come back here in my URL, remove this encoding, then I'm going to just add a single quote, then dash. So if I submit this, let's see how our application may return. So when you try to see here, only our characters will return. Perhaps I can go on and put a space, single quote, dash with a space there, and let's see if it's still the same data. And when you try to sit down here, we only have this. So we can go on and try to inject our payload in this and see whether we may return back our data and see if we can successfully solve this lab. So if we come back to our dashboard here, we can say that if our application is empty, whereby we are going to select all from products where our category. Now here we can provide it with a blank, and we can try to comment these which are being got from our database. We do have a and clause here whereby we know that this executes if both statements are true, which means we should either have our category should be equal to gifts, and also the release should be equals to 1. That's when our and will go on and execute. So the way we can bypass this is that if we could comment this and we call out whatever we want in our database. So here we are going to just say select. I'm going to remove this, and if let's say we want to pick out anything that we want, we can just go on and perhaps provide a single quote that will go on and close all, or if one goes on and says all 1 equals 1, whereby this one, the all clause, will go on and execute if one statement is true. Now if we have a empty query here and we comment this out, we can see our information. Perhaps I'm going to make a full quote here. So this is how it will appear. So let's go on and try to inject this in our URL and see how the information will be. So if we come back here to our gifts, perhaps I can just now remove this so that I just remain with a variable of category. So we are going to say category equals, so I'm going to first provide a single quote that will be closing all. Then here we can go on and say all1 equals 1. So we know our or clause, it will execute if one of the statement is true. Now when I just provide a single one, I'm leaving the argument that could have been provided to a category to be just blank, and we are providing 1 equals 1, whereby it should return true, which means in this situation here we shall either have a true. But let's see how the application will appear now. So that we do not receive errors at the end, we can just go on and comment this with a dash dash. So if we submit this, let's see how our application will appear. Now when you try to see here, they say that the lab is solved, and let's try to look down here. Now you see that a couple of products were returned back from our database, and we can see lots of them. Earlier we could only see 4 products, but now you can see we have 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5. We have 4 times 5, that is 20 products that were returned back, and we have successfully solved our lab. So I'll be creating another video solving the second lab to this SQL injection, and in case you're interested, please you can feel free to subscribe again to my channel, and you can also share to friends that may be interested. Have a great day. Peace.